Okay. So now we can understand, we're in the second paragraph on page 156. Now we can understand why. Now let's try to recognize in our soul this level of Moses in our soul and Yeshua in our soul. Ein Moshe Rabbeinu Nikra Navi. Why is Moshe not one of the prophets? Even though that the Mishna here does say that Moshe gave the Torah to Yeshua and to the prophets. Moshe was a prophet. That was his main thing. He was a prophet. Well, but not his main thing, but Moshe was a prophet. The Torah says there was never such a prophet in Israel like Moshe. Moshe's main thing was that he was the shepherd of the Jewish people. That's the main thing of Moshe. But one of the qualities that he had, his main quality of leadership, was expressed in that he was a prophet. What's a prophet? A prophet is a person that he gives over exactly what God tells him. A prophet is a person that never makes a mistake. Never makes a mistake. When he says a prophecy of God, he never makes a mistake. By the way, that was one of the qualities of the Lubavitcher Rebbe and the Rebbe before him. In fact, all the Rebbes of Chabad, they never made a mistake. Some people say that's their mistake, that they never made a mistake, that they stuck out from everybody else. Made everybody, that's a prophet. A prophet never makes a mistake. When he says something in terms of prophecy, it's always correct. And Moshe, every word of the Torah is his prophecy. It's his prophecy. Every letter, like it says, Lo kam navi bis. There was never a prophet like Moshe. If so, why isn't it in Pirkei is Moshe listed as one of the prophets? Because this level of Moshe, that he was a prophet, is not exactly in every Jew. The main thing of Moshe was giving the Torah. The giving of the Torah and learning the Torah, this is not the prophecy. Moshe, this is in some way even higher than being a prophet. Torah. Learning the Torah, the essence of the Torah. There's a story in the Gemara in Baba Metzia. And anyway, a person says that the law is like me. Rabbi Eliezer said the law is like me. And the wise man said, it's not like you. And he said, look, I'm going to prove it. The tree is going to jump out of the ground, and the water and the river will flow backwards, and a voice is going to come out from heaven, and all this is going to prove that I'm right. And all of it happened. And the rabbi said, I'm sorry, but the Torah is not in heaven. The Torah is on the earth. The Torah is not in heaven. So if so, that aspect of Moshe that he received from heaven, the Torah, right? That main thing was not his prophecy. The main thing was his learning Torah. Chamesh bechinot elu. These 5 levels. We're on base now. Moshe, the people of the Great Assembly, etc. All these levels between them, Yeshua and the elders. Shemehen tzarich liot murkav limud Torah has to be in the learning of the Torah of every Jew. We cannot stress how important learning Torah is. That's the purposes of this yeshiva, of every yeshiva, to learn the Torah. How many hours, how much energy, time is spent learning the Torah. Torah is so very important and vital, not just to the Jewish people, but to the whole world. Says the Rebbe, there's 5 levels in every single Jewish person for learning the Torah. Tzarichot liyot b'talich shel mimata lamayla. It has to be from below to above. Kasidru shel limud b'chlal. In general, the way a person learns. How does a person learn? He starts off simply, and he moves up to more difficult things. Same thing also over here. First of all, a person has to learn Torah from the level of Moshe. He has to be like Moshe. Then after that, you learn the Torah, you develop more. You can be in the level of Yeshua. The category of Yeshua. Then after that, you learn Torah more, you get more adept, more into Torah. Then you can be like the prophets. The elders, and then the prophets. And let's see what these levels are. First of all, you have to be like Moshe. Then after that, like Yeshua. Then after that, you can be like the elders, then the prophets, etc., until you reach to the level of Anshe Knesset Gadola, which is in your soul. You reveal it. But it's hard to reveal. That answers your question. It's hard to reveal the good hidden in every soul. It's hard to reveal these 5 aspects of learning Torah that are in every soul. Razal Omrim, the rabbis say, Ki hadover harishon she'av melamed et bano. The first thing that a father teaches his son, okay, you with me, Herschel? She mish yodei ledaber. The first thing that a father is supposed to teach his son when he starts to speak is, what's the first thing a Jewish child learns to say as soon as he knows how to speak? Torah tziva lanu Moshe. A father is supposed to teach, that's one of the psukim of the Rebbe. Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Morashaki lat Yaakov. The Torah commanded us Moshe. Zeh mavo rishon. This is the first door. This is the entranceway for a child to learn the Torah. In other words, he does this even before he knows how to read, before he knows how to understand. Rak la'achar sheyeled. Only when a child, kasher, is able, b'mida mesiyama, to a certain degree to understand, then you can start teaching them Chumash. Some people say you're supposed to teach them Chumash Vayikra, about the sacrifices and all. But as soon as he knows how to speak, his first contact with the Torah is Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe. This is the aspect of Moshe inside of his soul. It wakes up. The Moshe inside of his soul. That's how you have to start learning Torah. Waking up this aspect of Moshe in yourself. What is this Moshe? What is Moshe of your soul? Huh? What do you think? What do you think, Herschel? What is Moses of your soul? Moshe is the inyan of Hidbatlut Shel Nachnuma. The main thing of Moshe is total surrender, not thinking at all about yourself. Not thinking about this world, not thinking about the next world, not thinking about what's going to happen the next moment after you die, not thinking about your family, not thinking about your future, your past, not thinking about anything, thinking about only one thing. I'm learning the Torah. This is the Torah of God. Incredible. I'm learning the Torah of God. Lo b'regeh shel belev. We're not talking about being emotional. Lo b'seichel shel b'moach. Not trying to understand. Ki im b'hit masrut shel Torah. Giving the Torah over b'bittel atzmut. Like I met somebody when I was doing Mivtzayim this Friday, putting tefillin. So some fellow put on tefillin, an American guy, a young fellow. And he said he had spent 1 year in one of these other Baal Tshuva yeshivas in Yerushalayim. So he said, yeah, well, I learned in this yeshiva over there. I said, did you learn anything about God? He said, no. I said, listen, in those yeshivas, you learn the Torah. In our yeshivas, we learn about God. He said, yeah, really. In our yeshiva, they had a joke. What about God? He said, can't think about God. I'm busy learning the Torah. So that was a joke. I said, can't, yeah. Said, I'm thinking about it. Because they don't learn about God. They haven't got any books to learn from. What do they learn? Nobody writes about God. Who writes about God?
They can't throw in a couple extra books.
They don't really learn those books. Tanya and those Chassidic books, they don't learn them. Just sitting and learning Torah all the time. That's Torah. Says the Rebbe, very nice. It's a good thing to learn Torah, 100%. But you have to have the first basic of the Torah, and that's to be like Moshe. Torah tziva lanu Moshe. The Torah comes from Moshe. Who is Moshe? A tremendously gifted, smart leader, an amazing IQ. No. The main thing of Moshe was that he was totally negated to God. That's even being higher than a prophet. He received the Torah, God, the essence of God's wisdom and will. Why? Because he was totally negated to God. If he would have gone up on Mount Sinai and God would have said to him, okay, ready? Say it over and over again. Piano, 5 million times. That would have been the Torah. Moses didn't care what God said. God himself is saying it. I'll do anything you want. Right? I'll stand on one foot, I'll chop wood, whatever you want me to do. That's the attitude you're supposed to have when you learn the Torah. God is actually saying these words. These are the words of God. Bechinat chachma idbatlut metzuya b'kerev kol yudi. This is the level of what's called chachma, simple faith that is inside of every single Jew. That's the level of Moshe that is in the soul of every Jew. The greatness of Moshe, the reason he got the Torah, was not because he was so superior to everyone. In a way, exactly the opposite. Because Moshe was the most humble person in Israel. In a way, Moshe felt himself inferior to every single Jew. How was he inferior? He knew that only he took them out of Egypt. He said, yeah, but all what I have is a gift. And if somebody else would have given him this gift, it could be he would use his free choice in a better way than I did. So Moses' whole thing was total surrender to God. Habitul atzmuti shel bechinat Moshe. This level of total surrender to God, mitpateh, is expressed after in Yoshua. Yeshua was the second level. Yoshua is also in our soul. What's this level of Yoshua, of Joshua? Lo yamish b'tocha oel. It's not good enough to sit and learn Torah with just the attitude of Moses. All there is you, God. You have to use your mind also. You have to use God wants you to use all of your personality, all of your soul to serve Him. You just can't say, okay, all this is God. I'm not going to think. I'm going to just whatever God says. Very nice. For a beginning, it's good. But the next level you have to activate is the level of Joshua. Be with me, please. Page 157, in the middle of the second paragraph. First word in line is Oel. It says, Joshua did not move from the tent of Moshe, who masur tamid el Torah Moshe Rabbo. He was totally devoted to the Torah of Moshe. Kafi shene'amar, like it says in the Midrash, ki Moshe chashav shebanav yamalu makomo. Moshe thought that maybe his sons would be the ones to inherit him, take his place. The Kodesh Baruch Hu said, no. Notzer ta'ina yochol pirya. The one who planted the fig tree, he'll eat from the fruits. Who planted it? Joshua. Joshua had to fill the place of Moshe. Why? Because he was more than just a son to Moshe. Who notzer ta'ina. He planted, and he planted himself in the tent of Moses, and he didn't move. He learned from every word of Moses. Other sons and other people, they had their own interests in life a little bit. Otherwise, I got to be a normal person. Yeshua not. This level of Yeshua, which is found inside of every Jew, this is like when a child gets a little bit older. Now you have to say, not just that the Torah comes from God and you have to be surrendered. You already have that. That's already. Don't lose that. But there's an additional level. The learning of Torah has to be in a way that you do not move from the tent. What does it mean? That he's working all day and learning Torah. You see these little kids, how the whole day from the early in the morning, it cannot be in a small child. Mevin v'chash b'yokar erech haTorah. This can't be in a child because he feels the dearness, the pressure. He doesn't appreciate. Shari eno shaykh. A small child doesn't appreciate anything. Ki im mishum kabbalat all. This brings the bitl chachma Yeshua, the pupil of Moshe. Moshe was totally negated to God. Yeshua was totally negated to Moshe. What does that mean? That Yeshua had what we call Kabbalat Ol. Kabbalat Ol means accepting the yoke. Moshe, whatever you say, I'm going to do. Moshe, he was already a more, let's say, want to call it a more spiritual person. He received directly from God. Whatever you say, God, I'll do. Yeshua was a little bit more difficult. Yeshua, he had to receive from a human being. And nevertheless to say that this human being, even though he seems to be normal, is really not. Right? That's called Kabbalat Ol. I'm putting my intellect on a side. A little baby doesn't have much of an intellect. It's not hard for him to give himself over to the Torah. It says that's the beginning. When you start learning the Torah, it has to be total devotion only to the Torah, without trying to understand. Then after that, it has to be, or if you want to say total devotion to God, whatever. Then after, the next level is total devotion to learning the Torah, to understanding the Torah, above understanding. This level of Moshe, let's do the next paragraph. This level of Moshe, he abitul ha'atzmuti shel chachma. This level of Moses in our soul is not like the level of Joshua in our soul. The level of Moses in our soul, this is total devotion to God, which is called chachma. Namely what? No form. Just like a little child, right? Before he knows how to speak. The first thing he says, before he knows how to speak, before he knows how to understand, is Torah Tziva. The God gave us the Torah. Moses gave us the Torah. He received it from God. No, in Hafra. Kasher. Yoshua, he's a little bit of a different level. The level of Yeshua, this is a bittul kafishu mitbater mishtalshel batavnit shel kabbalat ol. Yeshua is giving yourself over to the Torah with a little bit of understanding. Nar lo yamish mitoch oil. He realizes that in order to understand the Torah, I have to have a certain attitude. The attitude has to be one of kabbalat ol, accepting the yoke. I have to be like an ox that's attached to a cart. Right? I have to accept on myself not to do what I want. Moses didn't have to have that. Moses just was automatically, totally surrendered to God. Yeshua, there was already a little bit of logic that he knew that in order really to understand the Torah, I have to be devoted. Right? There was a little bit of self-convincing there. That's why it says that Moshe got the Torah, v'mosra liYeshua. Moshe got the Torah and he gave it over to Yeshua. Kadei la'orer b'talmid et bechinat Yeshua lo yamish hechrachit lakach shehit masrut shel harav. And the teacher has to give it over with total devotion to his pupil. Afterwards, kasher atina godel. Afterwards, when a child grows even more, and now he's starting to really understand things, now he really has to use his power of understanding. Now he's not just learning the Torah with accepting the yoke. He's going to sit there and learn, this is the Torah of God, this is the Torah that my teacher gave me. Now he's learning on his own. He's going to get a little bit of a pleasure from the Torah. He's starting to understand things. Oh, he's going to understand the Torah. Now it feels good, right? Here he has an idea that I don't understand. This doesn't make any sense. Oh, makes sense. Oh, maybe even people come and they ask him questions. Oh, he starts to feel good, right? Zem Muvan Shel Yeshua gave it over to the elders. What does it mean? The elders, Zaken, this shows on a person, Shel Chachma v'Seichel, that has intellect. A Zaken is a person that has wisdom. Kolomer, after a person receives the Torah like Moshe, I have no existence, like a little baby. And then after that he moves to the next level, that he's like a young child. He says, I just have to stick to it and learn. But then after that, there's a little bit of a higher level, which is called the elders. The elders, that's understanding already. That you get into the Torah and you start to really enjoy the Torah. The Torah is very enjoyable. Torah is tremendously enjoyable. To sit and learn Gemara and Tosfos, what is the Tosfos asking? Ooh, this is a good question. This is a bit. Things come together. Your mind starts working. You get a tremendous pleasure from understanding. The next level is the prophets. The prophets were given over. They received from the elders. The Torah was given Lahasaga and Ushit. The Torah was given for human understanding. The Torah is not in heaven. But it says that Kishit HaTanaim. When the Tanaim and the Amoraim, you know what the Tanaim and the Amoraim were? Tanaim and Amoraim? The Tanaim were the people who wrote the Mishna. And they also wrote what's called the Breita. That was like very shortly after the destruction of the temple. And then after that, there were people called the Amoraim. They discussed the Mishnas and tried to understand them. These were all people, it says, the lowest level of the Tanaim had the power to raise the dead. They had the spiritual power to raise the dead. When these Tanaim, Amoraim, that they discussed the Torah and they decided laws, first of all, they would see the topic kamoshu l'mayla, as it is in spiritual. And then after, they would bring it into their understanding, in order shebesofa shel davar, they could bring it in their understanding that this should be the law. And it's very, very amazing. If you look in the Talmud, you'll see that the Talmud is filled with arguments. And Mishnah also has a lot of arguments in it. A lot of arguments. Rabbi Yeshiva says one thing, and Rabbi Elazar says a different thing. Rabbi Hillel says this, Shammai says this. But even though, and it says that all the words of all these people they're all words of the living God. Elu v'elu divrei Elokim chayim. They're the words of the living God. But nevertheless, it comes into their mind. Lo b'shamayim mishum sheri'atam shele'inyan l'mayla haviata rak hakdama b'psak din b'hasaga b'sefer. The Tanaim and the Amoraim, when they said a law, the law was purely according to their understanding. But where did they get the subject matter from? Where did they get all the facts from? They got all that from heaven. When they were discussing laws, they would see how the things are in the upper worlds. Then they would bring it to their own understand it, and that's when the arguments started. It was the arguments between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel, and those different arguments you see in the Mishnah and the Gemara. These are because God wanted these people to argue. He wanted each one of them to have his opinion. It's not that they were wrong, that they made mistakes. Everyone said exactly what was supposed to be said according to heaven, but they said it according to their own understanding. Right? This is difficult to understand. Yes, you read the Gemara, and you see there's huge arguments, and it says, in the end, both of them are the opinions of the living God. So if they're both opinions of the living God, so do whatever you want to. That is what God... No! You have to go according to the principles that the Torah is learned by, and the principle is this, that the majority wills. There's different principles that are going... You have to say the laws like this. If you say differently, then it depends. A person could even be punished for it. But if this is the law and it's decided, you say, no, I'm going to go according to Beit Shammai. I like Beit Shammai better. I'm going to go, you can't do that. You have to go according to what the law was decided. Even though Beit Shammai says differently, and the words of Beit Shammai are the words of God. Does that make any sense? So the answer is, it doesn't make any sense. The whole entire Talmud is godly. So now, this is a whole different level. This is what the level of the Nevi'im. V'kach gama teretz hakusha meforsemet al nivra tishbi teretz kusha b'zavayas. It says that there's arguments sometimes in the Talmud that have no conclusion. And it says, Eliyahu, the prophet, will come and he'll answer everything. How can Eliyahu, the prophet, come and answer everything? It says the Torah is not in heaven, but he will come according to his own understanding. What has this got to do with our subject? We'll talk about it, God willing.